I want to ask you why. Why is it so hard to be really good at AI filmmaking? And how have you gotten really good at using the movie machine?
It's not hard. It's just it takes a logical mind to understand prompting. So once you get that down, then you can move fairly quickly. For me, it was just like I'm on it all the time. And when I was just a user and not an actual employee, then I was spending all my money on coins, just trying to test everything out. So um yeah, just using it over and over again gets you to where you wanna be and helps you find out, the best way to go about prompting things, and, since we built in the optimization layer, things are going a lot faster, but, yeah, when you're first starting out, it's just understanding what to put into a prompt and how to talk to the AI so you're not getting frustrated, as we've seen with a few of our users that, try to talk to it as if it's their buddy, like, "Hey, do you see what's going on here? Can you fix it?" That kind of stuff doesn't work. You have to actually give it instructions. So,
Well, let's start with the notion that many folks coming in using the movie machine, uh, one of the perks of the movie machine is that it does a lot of the prompting for you in the sense that, you know, you give it your book and it'll turn it into a script, or you give it your script and now it turns it into the storyboard. And the storyboard's broken down with all of the shots in it already.
yeah.
Your character is already made. And this is true, yet you're saying like it's still really important to know prompting and at least how to work with the AI. So why would I need to work with the AI if the movie machine is just doing all of this for me?
Well, it does a lot for you, believe me. It does a lot more than anywhere else I've seen, but, and I've tried a lot of different AI tools. Um, the issue is when you wanna make changes. Now, if you write it in such a way that it gives you exactly what you want, chances are you'll never have to prompt anything. But if you want to make changes and then have to, like, move a camera angle from here to over there pointing at a certain person, that's where it gets tricky for some people. But once you learn prompting language and what should go first and how to I call it choreography because it basically is you're choreographing a shot, especially if you
Mm.
need them to move from frame left to frame right. You have to tell the AI that because it doesn't know when you say move it out of frame. It wants to know how you want to move it. Do you want it to dance out? Do you want it to like evaporate? How? It's the how part that people get stuck on.
Yeah. This is, I mean, and really is now a new career path of like being an AI director, right? Is understanding what changes you want to make to the AI filmmaking pipeline the movie machine gives you, and then how you communicate those changes so that it actually comes to life the way you want to see. And obviously, now you work for Creatorwood full time. You're a creator director, and you are, not just in charge of using the movie machine to help folks on the platform, whether it's VIP production or self service, but you're also like spending a lot of your time making the movie machine better for everyone else, which is really, really epic. Like a lot of the things going on the back end of like the prompt optimization, which is when if you say something to the movie machine, will actually automatically take that and adjust it so that it basically will go on the back end and will take your instructions and change the language you're using to work better with the AI. So all of that is things that Mia's doing. But obviously you didn't just kind of spawn into being a creative director. So I'd love to know your filmmaking journey from, when you got started to now where you are today. Because obviously as well, it's not like some folks have had their filmmaking journey start purely in AI, which is actually really cool. They're having folks
Yeah.
who are not familiar with filmmaking at all now come into AI and they only know AI filmmaking. But I know for you that's not true, that you have a lot of
No.
experience in pre-AI filmmaking.
Yeah, that's a long journey, though. I don't think you want the long version of that, but, that started way back in the '80s, so I don't think you wanna start back there, but, when I did my first feature film, with my friend Mimi, we did, a movie in 2004, and it was, a story that I had started, and then Mimi helped me finish it, and we did it together, and we ended up, getting really reamed by the person who distributed it worldwide. We ended up not making scent off of it, and it really angered me because that was like that was my baby, you know, and I ended up just losing it to this distributor, which happened to a lot of filmmakers back in the 90s. Absolutely, 90s, 2000s. It happens all the time. If you're not careful, you can really get ripped off. So we didn't end up making a cent off of it, and had to, you know, do other things to make ends meet. But when I found the movie machine, I was like, "Oh, here's my chance to do something really cool, and I don't need $1,000,000 to do it. I can do it sitting in my house," and really, really, like, spark some inspiration in my brain, and so I immediately just dove in with both feet and haven't stopped since. So, yeah, I am on this thing, at least 18 hours a day. So, yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of times, 12 to 18 depending on the day, but yeah, I am
it's basically every waking hour you're on it. It's
I
unbelievable. It was from the moment we came out into, like, our closed beta too, because it was literally, like, I remember the first day we went into closed beta, you jumped on it, and we had, like, a call that evening, because you were already, like, just using it way more than anyone else was. I mean, there's a few people who use it a lot, to be clear. We have a few folks who are we definitely have a few folks who are in the 60+ hour a week camp who are using this for fun and, creating things that much, which is wild. But, that first day, it was like, this one used it a couple hours, this one used a couple hours. You used it, like, the second it came out, the entire day, and then you were already kind of running into, like, interesting issues. And what I'd love to know is, what were some of the mistakes you made early on in your movie machine experience? And maybe even some of the mistakes you still make today, and some of, like, what maybe the funnier moments were and what you learned from them?
Oh, I've got some good ones. It's really funny now that I look back at the stuff that I started because as the movie machine has gotten better over time, my old projects are just basically that. I don't even touch them anymore because they're so outdated. All the new stuff that we've added just wouldn't even work in them. There's they're too old. And some of them are really, really funny because like prompting to me it was new back then. I had some experience with prompting, but nothing like I had to do in Movie Machine in its first phase. In its first phase, you had to tell it to do everything. It's much better now, but one of the ones that I absolutely love and I laugh every time I look at it, and I keep it in my downloads folder because I want whenever I wanna laugh, I just look at it, and it's I was trying to get this woman to run into the ocean and dive into the deep part, and she ended up, like, running along the side of the side of the ocean and face planting into sand. So it's just like I didn't know choreography back then, so it was actually really funny. But those kinds of things will still happen to me occasionally if I'm not careful when I am doing something that's very difficult. If I'm if I have many different things that are happening in a scene and I want them all to happen in this one shot, then I have to be really good. And sometimes I still have those things happen pretty
Yeah, it will,
pretty
because
funny.
it's kind of the dual combination of, like, you don't know that it's not going to work sometimes until it doesn't, and then it's like,
Right.
"Oh, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Okay."
Yeah, or
We
it
get
gives you what you asked for, but it wasn't what you wanted.
Yeah.
That was the Mimi told me that one, and I was like, "Oh, that's really good," because that's exactly what happens. Sometimes you'll be like, "Okay, I'm gonna just type in what I want," and it gives you exactly what you asked for, but it wasn't what you wanted because you didn't get it correct. But
So you were mentioning earlier, uh, talking to it, right?
mhm,
Talking to the AI, right? And not talking to it like a friend, you'd mentioned that, and getting angry at it,
yeah,
which we do. I think it's, like, I don't think the AI doesn't get angry back at you, by the way, it doesn't
yeah,
have a
yeah,
vengeance. Um, so I wouldn't I wouldn't worry about it from that context, but you are right that there's some ways that you can approach talking with the movie machine and working with it and prompting,
mhm,
directing it, right? That will be better than others. And I'd love to learn from you, uh, what style of communication and how you talk to it that, like, is best. Like, is it being super wordy and super descriptive? Is it being less so in moments? Is it writing in a specific Like, do I have to write in first person? Do I have to write in third person? Like, tell me, what you've learned about prompting, and like, what are some hard rules? Like, you have to do this, and what are some things that actually don't matter as much and pretty flexible in terms of how you can approach it?
Well, I'll say this, less is more. So the least amount
Interesting.
of words you can give it to get your point across, the better, because the more wordy you get, the more it starts to not understand you because you will use words like, his left, and it doesn't understand what his left is. All it knows is its
Right.
little world, which is like right in here. And so if you say his left, it's not going to know what you're talking about. It'll give you maybe his left, but sometimes it'll give you his right because it doesn't know what you're talking about. So if you understand the fact that you're working within its world right here, which is all that you can see in that frame, if it can't see it, it will make it up. So if you say pull the camera back and that wasn't in your original shot, all of a sudden you have all this area around here that is fair game and it will make stuff up. If you don't want it to, then you need to prompt that and tell it not to create anything new, that kind of thing. But if it's within this frame and it can see it, like you can zoom into something just fine because it knows this world, right? It as soon
Right.
as you zoom in, it can see everything and it can just make things bigger, right? And it just zooms in. But as soon as you start pulling back or pan, it doesn't know what's over here, so it's going to make stuff up. So just learning those things of understanding that all it knows is this world. It doesn't know what came before it. It doesn't know what came after it. Just this world, just this time, this instant.
And
So
when you say this world, you're referring to the start frame, right?
the start frame, yes. Anything that's in your start frame, and how we do our start frames is action and camera notes. You tell it what action's supposed to be taking place and which framing in the camera notes. And we fixed it so that it doesn't confuse those two because early versions of the movie machine, it was actually giving competing information in those, and so you were getting all these random mistakes. But since then, we fixed it, and for older projects, we have the shot fixer button that takes the whole scene as a whole and separates out the camera notes and the action and places it correctly. But
Yes, because when you say place it correctly, it's conflicting things that are just going to cause issues. Like, and if you don't know what you're looking for, what you're describing, what you should be looking for. If the world is the start frame, imagine something in the camera nose that might cause issues, you
right.
know, with that. Makes a lot of sense. And what it leads me to is you've now, I think you're approaching like an hour of finished film on the movie machine. You're close to it, right? Getting there,
Oh,
probably.
I don't know. I've done so many, I don't know.
It's getting very close, and it's undoubtedly more than anyone else. And I think, in fact, it's more than any filmmaker in AI in terms of like finished, actual completed film that is like of high quality. I think you have the most in the world. I Someone could challenge me on that who's listening to this, and that would be great. By the way, I'd love to talk to that person. Um, you undoubtedly you've experienced a lot, and I think the biggest thing, and you brought this up earlier, that people think about is the expense, right? It's how much is this costing, and I think you've become in like a little bit of a unique position where now that you work for Creatorwood and you are a leader on this team, a lot of times Creatorwood is covering that budget for you, but in reality, um, a lot of the projects you're working on are actual client projects where people are paying something like $100 per finished minute, and that includes all the AI costs, that includes labor costs, that includes QC costs, that includes everything, right? And with that, you actually are working with budgets still. It's not like you've gone out of the world of budgets mattering. Budgets still matter. They matter to everyone. Even Google, right, charges their customers
Sure.
for all of their products in AI video because it is so expensive. And what I'd love to know is for you right now to get a finished minute of film on average, how much coins are you spending, would you say, on average?
That's a good, per minute? Is that what
Yes, per
okay.
minute.
So if it's like a scene a minute, I would say, I usually try to stay under 5 regenerations of start frames. Um, Sometimes they go longer because either I didn't prompt it right or I really can't get the camera to turn the way I want it to. But that's more of a me thing, not the movie machine thing. Um, and so If there were, like, let's say 10 shots, then that's like, 50 coins for 1 shot. I mean, 1 minute.
On the start frame side, and then for the video side, obviously it's 200 coins to generate a minute of
For
film.
one, yeah.
How often are you regenerating the video side?
Well, in terms of the musical we were doing, it was several times because the lip syncing was not up to the musical director's standards, so we were having to regenerate it over. But in terms of just regular time, usually 1 to 3 at times. It just depends on if you got the start frame. Everything comes from the start frame. So if you've got the start frame right, chances are your video is going to be correct. And also, start frames come from director's notes. So if you have everything right in your director's notes, then your chances are you're not going to have to regenerate too often.
It all
But
builds in its
yeah, it does. It all builds on itself, and that's one thing that people try to skip over because they want to hurry up and get to the scenes and start
oh,
making their movie. But director's notes will screw you up if you don't fix those first. If everything is top notch in your director's notes, chances are you're going to have less problems down the line.
let's talk about what top notch looks like in director's notes. But to put a number so folks can understand kind of the average coin spend, it's somewhere around 400 coins or $40 to get a minute of finished film is what
Hmm.
Mia's doing right now. Sometimes it's a little over, sometimes a little under, but right now it's right around $40 per finished minute, which is actually really great. It's not terrible. So it's not an endless money pit to get good film.
No,
You can
no,
actually get good film pretty quickly, and you have to pay for some of your mistakes, but over time Mia's continued to get more efficient as well. And I think like that's just what's happening. Like top AI directors who are using the movie machine are getting better and are able to produce things faster and cheaper with time, just like any skill you get better at. And you mentioned in terms of like a higher leverage point in the process to like do well. If you make a mistake, the director's notes, it can be something you have to fix 50 times later.
right.
My first question would be why? Why is the director's note so important? And then what are the things that we need to look out for in the director's notes to make sure we're getting right?
Well, a lot of this we have already fixed to be automatic. Like we were having issues with the models not keeping the facial features the same throughout the project. And it was because a lot of the director's notes characters, their images were too far away. So that like they were like, back here and the head was really tiny in the image. They were like 3/4 shots. And I started realizing if you get a nice close up, the AI can see all your facial features and be able to replicate that better downstream. So we fixed it so that when you ingest your script, all your director's notes are now headshots. They're like from here to here, like just a little bit above the head and right up the collarbone. And that way, that immediately gets you better images downstream. The other thing is, if there is things in your like your props, like if I have this as a prop and I have a bunch of other stuff around it, like this or whatever, it's going to bring those downstream if you don't get them out. So sometimes we've fixed a lot of this on ingest. So as many problems as we've had, they're not going to be a problem in the future. Like AI, it learns very quickly, and we are adapting to that and making the movie machine better. I hope to make it so that you don't have all these issues that you're having now, and that prompting becomes something that you really don't have to learn because the movie machine will do it so well for you. But I don't want to make it too good that you don't have to put some effort into it, because who wants to just click buttons and have a movie? That's you got to put a little work in it, got to have some stake in the game to enjoy it.
Yeah,
That's
there's a balance. I think like continuing to like reduce the friction between idea and reality will continue to
Mhm.
happen. You still have to put effort into like crafting and shaping your intention there. And so on the director's notes, a lot of this is once you understand how the movie machine is working, AI is never going to be 100% what you want and 100% correct. It's going to get really, really close to being 100%. It's already really good now, but it's that 10% or 5% where it just goes off the rails or doesn't do what you're wanting to do, where you're going to spend most of the time right now. And we're looking to continue reducing that so that that's almost no time you're spending on these sorts of like places where AI doesn't go according to plan. But the reason why director's notes is so important is because for every start frame, it's literally just a combination of the picture of the setting, the picture of the character in the director's
Mhm.
notes, and then the picture of any props included in that setting, and then any notes you have on like action and camera that might influence how these things interact. Therefore, if something is incorrect, if a character doesn't look the way you want to in your director's notes, it is going to absolutely not look that way in every single start frame, which is a real issue. And it leads me to this question of angles, which you talked about, getting the AI to move different angles. And also part of that is when you see more, right? When you see more of the scene, being able to fill that in and make it consistent.
Mhm.
And in the director's notes for settings, um, we've been doing a lot of things with automatic angles, which you'll notice in the movie machine. I'm curious um, how settings in the director's notes interact with angles in the start frames and ensuring consistency there, what you've learned in that process.
What I've learned is most of the time when you get a setting behind it, it's going to give you what's in the director's notes. So if you don't have different angles of that, you can't select those different angles downstream. And if you want to correct that, you will have to do a prompt to direct it. So it's much easier just to take care of all your angles and everything in director's notes. And that way you're not having to try and make a prompt to say, point the camera at the wall with the door on it. So, it's much easier if you just have an angle already in the director's notes that you can then just select in your shot card. So,
And you how do you decide? Like, let's say I'm literally just looking at the director's notes the first time. I haven't even looked at my storyboard yet, because I'm just focused on my director's notes. How are you deciding, like, what angle should be there? Are you just kind of building out the full scene regardless of whether you use it or not in terms of all the angles of the setting? Or are you kind of looking at the script and going, "Okay, I think we're gonna need this in this scene and this in this scene." How are you going about understanding what angles we actually need to fill in?
well, I like to have angles of every wall in the room so that you can turn the camera that way. Um, it's sometimes it's not optimal and you do have to tweak it a little bit downstream, but it just depends on what's happening in the frame, what's happening in your script. If you having somebody walk into frame and out of frame, that also gets tricky because anything that's not in the frame when you start it is going to be fair game. Going to make it look however I want when I get it in there. That's what the AI is saying. So if you don't already have that person in the frame, then it's going to look different every time. So it does when it's making the start frame, it takes the images, the cast members, and all that stuff, and you're selecting that in the shot card. So after it's seen all that, it then takes all that and composes it into the start frame. So if you don't have that angle of that room selected, you're going to get either a wrong angle or you're going to get some random shots that you didn't even select. So you have to always just in director's notes, it's best to just get all the angles of your room. Even if you do like 6 angles, corner shot, wall shot, corner shot, and just turn yourself around in that room and get all those angles, then you can go in and select them. And it's so much easier than having to try and turn that thing in a prompt because that gets difficult. A lot of people don't understand the AI needs a reference point in order to point at something. So if you say turn the camera, it doesn't know what you mean. You got to give it where it needs to be and what it's pointed at. And if you don't have that image, it's going to make something up or it's going to give you something that you don't want. So it's best to just handle all that in the director's notes.
So good. I think that's honestly one of the bigger things that I've noticed folks in the movie machine struggle with because, once
Well,
you
it's
really start
difficult.
to dive deep, this is something you want to do, and it,
Right.
it is it is difficult. But I think that makes it a lot simpler for folks. Handle it in the director's notes, get as many angles as you can. And it's going to make it way easier for every single shot you ever make in any of those settings. That's huge. Now, what have you learned from a mindset perspective? Because I think like I come from like the world of YouTube before this, which is like different than making movies in more traditional film like you have. But I think undoubtedly there's things about AI filmmaking that require a slightly different approach and different mindset. What are like the kind of new things that you've had to change about your own mindset to be able to adapt to using the Move Machine well?
Well, I actually think I use it better just because I've had that background and I understand shot composition and I understand camera angles. A lot of people coming into this don't have that background and don't understand what an extreme close up entails, or a wide shot or anything like that. And so they have a more difficult time getting the shot that they want. Um, which I hope to work with software and make that easier for people. I would like to make it so you just click on a button and it turns the camera for you. Um, but in terms of using the AI to get stuff, I just had to learn how to prompt better because, like I said, I only had a little bit of prompting under my belt and I did understand it and I do understand computers. So I was able to catch on really quickly. But in terms of changing the way I do things, I actually think it was better that I learned all that before I came here and was able to use what I've learned. Because like I told you before, that this movie machine takes everything that I've learned throughout my entire life and puts it all in one place, and I'm able to use all parts of my brain and everything that I've ever learned in this. And so I think that's why I love it so much.
No, I mean, it's a movie studio in a box, right? It's literally a
Yeah,
studio in a box, and that's what
absolutely.
it was designed and is designed for. Now, for folks who maybe don't know as much right now about these, let's say, camera angles, camera movements, different shot compositions, um, it's I actually don't know, like, I don't think there's a right answer to this, but I'm curious, like, what your advice would be because, um, I sit here, I'm a futurist, I know you obviously looking to the future too, going like, "Oh, in a couple months, like, the movie machine's probably gonna be able to handle a lot of this for people," right?
Mhm.
And I believe that's true because already in the last couple of months, we've seen so many of the things
So
that
many things, yeah.
you needed to know or that were really hard just get easy. So we're, week by week knocking more of this out. So as someone who maybe doesn't have the background you have, which I mean, obviously it's amazing you have your background, and many folks do have a, more of a filmmaking background, production, directing background, which is helpful. But if you don't have that and you want to get started and use the Move Machine right now, and obviously these things are helpful. They're not essential necessarily, but they're helpful to get good film that you're happy with. What would be your advice to them? Should I go learn it? Should I wait? What should I do if I'm listening right now?
I think the best thing that people can do is learn the different shots, and that's as simple as looking up, an example of shot cards that, show you what is encompassing in an extreme close up, what's in a medium two shot, what's, all those different languages. There's not a lot of them. So you don't, there's not like a huge array of stuff that you actually have to learn. Just understanding when you say medium two shot, what that encompasses and how to get that. So that kind of verbiage is really helpful. Understanding foreground, middle ground, background, that's very helpful as well. Anything to do with composition of a shot is also really helpful. And it's not like they need to know everything. It's they'll learn it as they go. And just having that so that they can understand. Oh, and consistency. That's a major, major issue that people have problems with. If something is in their left hand, um, in one shot, and then suddenly it's in their right shot, that's not consistent, and you're gonna see it all of a sudden go boop. It's gonna be over here all of a sudden, and that's not gonna give you what you want. So you gotta make sure that if it's somewhere like that key on the wall right there is always in that spot. And that way it won't just all of a sudden just disappear or fade out or jump to the other side of the screen. And that will go a long way. So consistency is a major, major one.
Well, you know what? Let's do on the AI filmmaking, kind of, well, we can call it maybe almost a dictionary of sorts is really what this will be, or guidebook. We can create all those different terms, and
Mhm.
I'll create something that will be linked right down the description that you guys can go to. I don't know what the URL will be yet, but it'll be the top URL in the description, that you can download it for free on, and we'll get some help guys live on it. So we'll get a lot of these terms just in one place for folks because it's not like 1,000 terms. It's also not 10. It's something that you could read in a little bit, and you don't need to internalize all of them immediately, but sometimes being able just to reference it and know like I can reference this thing is useful. So we're gonna make that for people, absolutely, to help them out. And I'm super excited for that. Now, on the point of consistency, right? That is
Right.
super huge. And it's one of the reasons people come to the movie machine because not using the movie machine, it's nearly impossible to get consistency across a film. And I say that just being honest, it is nearly impossible. How the movie machine is designed to keep consistency throughout a film. But you are highlighting things that are really important. Object placement within a scene, or, how an object's oriented to a character and what they're holding. Super, super important to nail down. Many folks are like, wait, doesn't the move machine just do that for me automatically? I just press the generate scene button and we're good. And obviously, if you've used the machine, you can just go in, see all the shots, not change anything, press generate scene, and you're good to go. And good to go is maybe relative. Some people get great scenes first time.
Uh-huh.
Some people have these inconsistencies. My
Right.
question to you is, why is this happening? And then when you see this, how do I actually fix it in the movie machine? How do I ensure that consistency?
Well, I actually find that a lot of the consistency comes from your very, very, very first step, and that is your script. If you have a very detailed script, which is okay, most people do not make detailed scripts. It's not the way a script is normally written. But if you go in and do that, I've done this when I was doing that one story you saw, the car six, where I took the script and rewrote it so that it was incredibly detailed of everything that everybody was wearing, down to like what hand things were in. I got tremendous, that just everything was wonderful, everything was flowing correctly. When something goes wrong in the shot itself, it's usually because something is wrong in the director's notes. If for some reason, because the way that Sashva has written it, It if there's something in the scene and it's in frame 1 and the action doesn't actually take place till frame or shot 6, it's already in the frame in those. So it looks at the scene as a whole, puts those elements in that frame, and then goes down the list and makes sure that it's in there. Now, for some reason, it gets it wrong in the first one, it's gonna be wrong all the way through. So that's when, you have to make changes. But most of the time, it gets it right if you have been very descriptive in where it's supposed to be or how they handle it. And that really goes back to being able to, sorry, um, being able to, write a very descriptive script. So, I don't know if I answered that question properly.
No, no, you did. And what it sounds like is if things are switching, places inside of a scene, and it's like, oh my God, what's happening? It's probably because you haven't actually been specific about that object placement. So then
Right.
it can, it may change. So there's kind of multiple places to fix this in. Ideally, you fix it in the script up front. You'll never have the issue because that's exactly what the movie machine does. It takes your story and turns it into a movie. So the strength of it is that the strength is it takes your story and turns it into a movie. The problem is it takes your story and turns it into movies. So if things aren't clear in your story, they probably won't be clear in the movie machine. Now,
Very much so.
the thing is, you're saying there's a few moments to address this, and this is true. If we make things clear in the director's notes, specifically in that physical description, hey, the scar is on the left side of this character's face. Always make it on the left side. Bang, that could be very useful. And then you're also saying, look, I mean, it's a little bit more frustrating if that scar is going to be in 100 different shots to have to adjust it 100 different times.
Mhm.
In the sort of storyboard, you might as well get it right in the director's notes. But if there's one-off things where it's like this one spoon is like present in this one scene and you need to get it there, then it is just about being more instructive essentially in your that you can edit with AI at every step. You would make sure that when you're editing with AI, that image prompt is going to be, hey, like I want to adjust the spoon. Okay, great, done. And that's another thing too about prompting and how it works in Creatorwood right now. A lot of the areas you'd prompt in, you're not actually typing in text from a blank screen. You're editing with AI the existing prompt. So it's less about you being excellent at prompting, but you being able to understand when the prompt's doing what you want it to do or not, which, in many ways, is like a higher level task. Like, how do you know it's a good or bad prompt? Um, or really, good or bad is the wrong word, but a prompt that's going to give you what you want. But you said something here that like I want to go back on because you've been doing a lot of this the last couple of days, which is scripts. And obviously, not everyone even has a script who's using the machine. Some folks have books. Some folks do have scripts. If they have a book, we convert it into a script. If they have a script, then they're good to go. But my question to you is, should I be writing my book or my script, aka my story, specifically with the movie machine in mind? Because obviously you're right. Like these types of descriptions, if you handed the script that you're talking about to a director that was like this sort of instructive or this
Mhm.
prescriptive, you'd probably really piss a director off.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
They'd be like,
absolutely.
"What is this?" And you're supposed to be here telling me like the action and the dialogue, and you're here,
Mhm.
telling me all. Basically, you're trying to do my job. But obviously, what you've noted is that AI, as an AI filmmaker, you're not just a screenwriter or a storyteller. You also have to think like a director. You have to think like an editor. You have to think like all these things in one at
Oh.
every step in the process. But
Mhm.
then comes the question: if I'm supposed to be thinking like a director and thinking like an editor, thinking like a producer, as I'm writing my story, how does this actionably change how I should be writing my stories?
Well, actionably, I mean, like, for instance, right now, you can take a book, any book, upload it, and we just fixed script ingest so that it is going to turn it into, well, not script ingest, story ingest, and it will turn it into a filmable script. So then that can be introduced to the movie machine and it will make all your scenes and everything based on your book. Now that already exists, right? We can do that completely, and most authors write descriptively. So that solves the issue right there. But if you are just coming into this and you don't even have a script yet, I would definitely write it as if you are talking to a 5-year-old saying, okay, he has the phone in his right hand and he's going to turn it to his left hand and just be very descriptive and you will get so much better results. Um, and I've tested this over and over again with stories of my own where I just put it in the way I wrote it originally, which is a regular script, and I got okay, decent, results, but when I put in something descriptive, night and day. I got everything that I wanted. The people looked exactly how I described them. It was definitely night and day. So the more descriptive you are, the better your results are going to be.
It's funny. So, in one hand, like, folks who have books and just use the movie machine to convert it to a script can be at an advantage because it's like the book format is more descriptive by
Mm,
nature. So,
yeah,
that's there. This also breaks a lot of like the sort of filmmaking conventions in a sense because I know there's the standard rule of you've got one page of a screenplay resulting in one minute of
right.
film on screen. If you're being more descriptive at every step in the process, that's going to lead to a longer script, which we're seeing much longer scripts. That doesn't necessarily equate to longer films.
Mm,
It can, but not always. It's not going to be one to one. There's lots of variance now because of the level of description in the script itself. So on one hand, if you're an author of the book, the action item here is probably just upload your book, take it to the script stage, and then see what's going to happen next. Like see if if it all looks good. If it all looks good, you're in a really good position and you can start just editing. But yeah, this does feel bigger for screenwriters out there because this is like a different is a mindset shift in like what it means to be a screenwriter. So what I'd wanna ask you is 2 things. One is, um, if I am a screenwriter right now starting a new script, it's pretty clear to me that I can be more descriptive. And maybe I'd have like one version of my script that's for traditional filmmaking, I'm shopping on directors, and then one for the movie machine. And really this process where you are the director yourself. But let's say I have a script already and I don't want to spend the time going back and making it more descriptive. Could I use AI to fill these descriptions in for me? And is this something too that um, maybe we even build into the movie machine? Because this feels like something that we're gonna continue having screenwriters run into. They upload their script and they're like, "Wow, there's like a lot of holes missing here." I think we've already seen this in VIP production with some of our clients where it's like they're like, "This is not how I imagined it." It's like, well, sure, we don't know how you imagined it. And it's like, well, that's useful to know. So is there a way to use AI to speed up their process outside of just going back and rewriting the script?
Yeah, I mean, you can use a number of different AIs to be able to rewrite it. I find that well, I would like to build it into the movie machine where we ingest any story whatsoever. AI takes a look at it and says, "Okay, well, you got a hole here, you got a hole here, and let's help you rewrite it." And I would like to have that be a process within the movie machine so that we can help these writers get the story they want, but also maintain what the movie machine needs for really descriptive writing. Because one thing that I've noticed is a lot of writers will put a lot of effort into writing something that is not filmable.
Yeah.
Anything that's in your head, you can't film that. If it's a thought, unless it can turn into an actionable thing that we can actually film, the movie machine's not going to recognize it as such, and it will either eliminate it or give you some random. We had one where it turned it into an image of somebody's brain, what do you call those, firing, the synapses firing, because it couldn't understand, what the whole thought process was. But just writing it in such a way that it can be actionable. That's a major thing. And that way, when it's ingested, it will be able to give you the scenes that you want. But okay, I got sidetracked. What was the original question?
Well, no, I mean, I think you in a way answered it. It's, if I was to have a script that I wanted to make more descriptive, how could I use AI to help me do that?
Ah, okay. One particular one that I find useful is Claude. Claude helps you write any story you want, any script that you want, and will ask you questions. It helps you get that, but I would actually like to build that particular thing in Movie Machine.
I think we're gonna be doing that very soon because just like, we're learning along with everyone here, and I think what we've learned is there's like 2 2 parts in the process that, like, have, like, the most impact. One is, like, video models continuing to get better just is
Mhm.
huge. Like, everything no matter what the prompt is, no matter what the story is, if the output looks more impressive, that helps everything, So that's, like, the last step in the process, which, us rooting to better models, us, working with model providers who are coming out with new launches to, like, essentially push video forward is huge. But then it's funny, it's like the first and the last step are the most important. Like when you press the button, what happens? And then the first step, which is like, what is the story itself? And, effectively the script is obviously the sort of like translation that's used to convert it into this visual format that becomes a movie. But, what is the story itself? Is it going to work in a visual format? And I think for folks who are kind of wondering like, where is Creatorwood going to go? I think a lot of where Creatorwood's going to go in the near term is obviously building out a lot more things to make prompting and all these little refinements better than Movie Machine. But what we found is that if you can just have a better story up front, you literally just saves you so much time and money. Like it's not even funny.
Yeah.
That's like the best thing to do. So if we can use AI to help you craft a better story for movie making, with you coming in having no knowledge, just like I have a story. That's the best thing we can do. So we're really breaking it down where instead of just uploading your script and or uploading your book and then getting out a script, it's going to be a conversational creative process where you can actually create stories within Creatorwood. And then once that story is looking good, and we'll be there helping every step of the way with the AI, you'll then know, okay, great. Now I'm ready to kind of turn this into a movie and start the filming process. So ideally, like in a near future, you come to Creatorwood with a story idea and you start writing inside of Creatorwood, because essentially you need to be writing with film in mind, and you need the movie machine there coaching you
Yeah,
on what's
yeah.
going to work. So I think that's, I can't put a timeline exactly on it, but I do think that's what Mia's going to be spending a lot of her time on it, in terms of like our next month of improvements, because I think there's so much exciting things to roll out there that can help everyone, and also lower the barrier to entry to get into the movie machine, because video production isn't, it's way cheaper than, traditional production. $20 a minute is pretty remarkable in that cost, but it adds up. Whereas like anything that we're doing with text is remarkably cheaper, right? Like you can write a whole story with AI for about $100. So like, a whole full length feature. So that's very cost effective. So I'm very excited about that. And then I think that leads us off to a good kind of stopping point here, which is, you've shared so much. I'm sure you'll be back on the pod. You've shared so much insanely valuable insights on how to approach filmmaking, how to approach the movie machine. What I'm curious for you is, what are you most excited about seeing? Because the movie machine's already progressed so much. Like, what are you most excited about seeing in terms of like improvements over the next couple months? Because I think when you say what you're excited about, people will be like, especially curious, because you'll actually be making them happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, mostly is being able to do from start to completion all within one space. That I find invaluable. Like right now, people have to go to several different prod or programs to get what they want, and I want it to be where
You
they
talk about like
are
editing in specific, mostly.
everything,
Yeah.
everything. Like right now, you can Sasha has built it so that you can actually work with the script as if it's like Final Draft. It works like Final Draft. So what you're talking about, what I would like to build is the ability to help you write the story. So if you come to Movie Machine with just an idea, by the time you get out of the script stage, you have a fully working script, and then you can ingest that, or the Movie Machine will ingest that and start your filmmaking process. And then in the final end, you have a feature length movie that you've edited within Movie Machine, and then also have the pipeline at the end for distribution, which is, I think, invaluable. If you can do this all in one place, why go elsewhere? Especially since
But
Movie Machine is like super. It's better than anything I've witnessed.
and we're just gonna keep making it better, way,
Yeah,
way faster.
exactly,
That's the goal. Just
exactly,
keep doubling
exactly.
down. And I agree. I think like if we can capture the beginning and end point here, where like you start with the story and then you can also do the editing inside of Creator, that's the two pieces that are, they're technically there, but they're in like an unusable state. Like, it's best that you write the story elsewhere. You can edit a little bit in Creatorwood, and then you get the movie machine. You can edit the final output a little bit in Creatorwood, but it's probably best you take it elsewhere right now. But if we can like make those ends of the product better, that'll be key. And hey, we have full-time engineers now dedicated to both those things.
There
So
you go. And I'm
yeah,
super excited about the distribution platform because that's near and dear to my heart because I've been ripped off by distributors. So, yes,
that's where
I
my
want
brain is sitting more
to
and more in my
make
time.
yes, I want people to be able to make movies and make money at it. So if that's what they want to do, they can do it from start to end and not
It's
have anybody stealing out of their pockets.
that future is here. I mean, like we're opening up the distribution side of Creative very soon. And for those who like know the lore of Creative, we actually started off as a distribution platform for AI filmmaking, and then ended up realizing that there needs to be a place to create these things too. So we're opening back up the distribution side, because now it's really like everyone who's creating AI films, like it's no one's really creating AI films not using the movie machine. It's very, very hard to do anything outside of it. So it's now a place where people are sharing things they're making on the movie machine, able to make money from it. So yeah, I'm very excited too. I think 2026 is going to be a crazy year. It's going to just totally blow open. We're recording this right at the end of 2025. It's going to totally blow open this whole industry. I'm excited for it.
Absolutely. I want to see the Creatorwood channel.
Yeah, we're going to make it
Yeah,
happen.
that's what I want. That's what I want. Yeah.
That's going to happen soon. That'll happen.
Full full length. Everything you do is all within Creatorwood, and we even have a distribution on your television. So yeah,
That's
that's what
that's coming in 2026,
I
100%.
like that.
That
I like it.
early 2026. Definitely not like Q1 or Q2 for sure. So it'll be fun.
Awesome.
Well, Mia, this was fantastic. I'm so grateful for your time. Yeah, she's literally like the best, knows more about this than anyone on the planet. So if you have any questions for us about the movie machine, about how this works, feel free to reach out to us at hello@creatorwood.tv. And if you want to have a team of professionals make your movies for you, I'll put the link down below to schedule a free consultation call with the team. Uh, Honestly, many folks hear all this and want to do it and want to dive in and basically become AI directors. And then other folks hear this and are like, can I please have someone do this for me? Which, if you're in the latter camp, we're very happy to have one of our AI directors do it for you. And Mia basically trains them all up, and along with Goldie, who's a superstar, and helps all this kind of come to life. So if you're interested in that, that'll be down below. But as always, thank you everyone for listening. And thank you, Mia.
Thank you.
Storytellers of the world, everyone.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.